Welcome back to my channel where we review and talk about all things bookish. My name is Gabby, and today we're doing my September wrap-up. And I understand that it's a little late, but I thought at one point it might be redundant to do wrap-ups. And then I realized if I release one book review a week, some of these books in the wrap-up aren't even going to get reviewed. Maybe you'll never see them. Maybe you won't see them until a few weeks later. So it is still worth doing so you can know what I read and how I did. And I love watching, listening, reading other people's wrap-ups and knowing what they thought. So we're going to start with this little chart. Storygraph made this for me. Storygraph is linked in my bio below if you want to go follow me over there. But in September, the month of September, and I'm just going to reference some notes because this is informal and we're yapping. In September, I read 10 books. I'm primarily an audiobook listener, so I'm going to tell you the average pages, but that's not accurate because I listen. But an average of 354 pages per book. I read in total pages, but again, not accurate because I mostly listen to audiobooks, 3,545 pages for the month. My average rating was 3.6. I primarily read fiction at 90%. I almost never read nonfiction, never, unless it's like a biography. So we'll hop into that. And the top themes of the books that I read were horror and thriller. In no particular order, I'm just gonna go down the list, what I read, what it's about, maybe like a minor thought. But we've got 10 books here, so I'm not trying to sit here all day and give you in detailed reviews. That's what the other reviews are about. If any have already been released, I will link the video to them below if I remember. So starting off with book number 1, we had The Drowning Woman. I gave that 4 stars. It's by Robin Harding. I thought the book overall was pretty good. It is like a thriller, a suspense. I don't know why I didn't give it 5 stars, probably because it's not that memorable. If I'm sitting here going, why did I only give it 4 stars? It means that I didn't remember it, which means it didn't really impact me all that hard. I think I didn't have like an emotional impact to the ending. The ending I think was supposed to like elicit some emotions and it just didn't. And that usually bumps something down to 4 stars for me. But overall it was really good if you're looking for something fast paced, something different and fun. It's not cozy. It's not that kind of fun. Trigger warning for abuse and things like that. Death, blood, trigger warning. But if none of those things upset you and you're open to it, 4 stars, The Drowning Woman. And I'm kind of a hard sell on a lot of books. Number 2, we have Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. By the time you're seeing this, I don't think my other video will yet be posted, but I do have a video coming out where we read the 1-star reviews because this was a do not finish for me, or did not finish. I very rarely do not finish a book. It's something I've just allowed myself to start doing this year because why do something I hate when I could do something I love and read a different book? This book, I am visually impaired, so I don't read anything like visually that is not necessary. And the book, while the title underneath it said a love-hate love story, I thought it was a murder mystery. I don't know why. I'll talk about that in the review. And so due to that, as I started reading it and the smut started happening, I said, I'm checking out. Number 3, we have A Most Agreeable Murder, which I gave 3 stars. It's by Julia Seals. Again, there will be a review up of this one. It's about a young girl who is at a ball to meet her husband to take her family's inheritance, and a murder happens. It was fine. It was definitely a cozy mystery. It was funny. But it felt a little slow in the beginning, and then it went by very quickly. So if that's something you're into, go for it. Number 4, I read Page Boy by Elliot Page, which I gave 4 stars. This is Elliot Page's journey with being queer and trans in the media and what that looked like for him growing up, where he was kind of forced into these gender roles, especially as an actor, where, you know, you are presenting as cis to the world, and so they make you dress as a cis individual, and what that was like for them. My small qualms, as I have many, in Small Qualms Corner of this book, is that it felt more like a cathartic experience for Elliot to write it than it did necessarily for us to read it. It jumped all over the place, and at least in the audiobook, it didn't tell us where we were. So it wasn't like age whatever. You kind of had to imply what age Elliot was in the story that he was talking about. So we might be getting like a very sexual story about his sexuality and his transness in one chapter, and then the next chapter would change, and at no point is the audiobook listener given any indication that the time has changed, but now we're talking about him in elementary school. And so that was a little bit confusing and hard to follow. It could be different in the book version. But overall, it was 4 stars. I think it's really great. I think more trans people need to share their stories. Existence is resistance. As somebody who's married to a trans man myself, it was really cool to get to see like the inside of what it's like to live with gender dysphoria, because it's not something I personally experience. Number 5, we have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I gave this 5 stars. It's by Grady Hendrix. I want to read more books by Grady Hendrix. I think that I may love Grady Hendrix. This book has reached one of my favorite books of all time, which is funny because I don't think a lot of people love it the way that I did. It's a discussion about reproductive rights and what happens when we don't give women proper access to reproductive rights and what that can look like. And I just think it's such a beautiful book. I'm not even going to talk about it too much. I do have a review up. It's not a very good review because it's very early in my YouTube journey that I recorded it, and I was definitely just yapping, but I love it. Feel free to check out the review. 10 out of 10, read the book. We have The Only One Left by Riley Sager, 3 stars. I read it because it's a Riley Sager. It is about a girl who becomes like the caretaker, the nurse of a prolific person in town who is known for having murdered her entire family, and she no longer can like move and walk. She's pretty physically disabled, and what that journey looks like and uncovering that full story. The concept was really good. I just think I worry about saying these things because I love thrillers, and while the book was a 3, that's not a bad thing. I enjoy reading Riley Sager's books, but I don't think I've ever given one a 5. And I hesitate on saying that because I think that the concepts are really great, and I know one of them is going to be a 5 for me at some point. So 3 stars for that. At number 7, I had the pleasure of reading The Ark Hazelthorn, which I gave 4 stars. It's by C.G. Giroux, who wrote Don't Let the Forest In, that I've heard nothing but incredible, lovely, amazing things about. It is currently on my TBR. I'm waiting for it to come in from Libby, so that's very exciting. It is about kind of like a love story, dark academia, a person kind of figuring out their unknown background, discovering themselves, while also solving a murder, and there's a lot going on. It was really good. It's not something I would typically pick up, but I did, and I enjoyed it, and that is very rare for me. So 4 stars for that. The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro, I gave 3 stars. I really wanted to give this book 5 stars. I did. I read it as part of a Goodreads challenge. I really enjoy when Goodreads gives you the awards for these challenges because it makes me look at books I might not normally pick, because we're so used to just reading whatever the media tells us is really good right now and seeing all these things on TikTok. But I picked it out, and the concept is it's about generational trauma and a woman who is working through her own depression, and she is haunted by the kind of mythic person of La Llorona. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but she's basically like a woman who lives in the lake and steals children at night because she lost her own, and she's very scary, and a lot of Central American people will use the story of her to get their kids to be home on time. And I really love the concept. I love the generational trauma concept. I love that we were talking about, I feel like so rare nowadays that you're getting people, you get a more diverse cast, but having a cast that has like almost no white people in it, I think is really cool as a Puerto Rican individual myself. But it just didn't read well to me. I felt, it didn't feel like a story as much as it felt like a talking to. I don't know. It was very weird. I can't explain it. It wasn't like a journal. I just didn't like the writing. So, but it is a great idea, a great concept. So definitely check it out. 3 stars. Up next in 3 stars, I had The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey, and I'm so sorry, Jeffrey, if I'm mispronouncing this. Eugenides? I don't know. Gave it 3 stars. It is trigger warning for a lot of death, suicide, but essentially it is about this town and the local boys in the town who, and how the town kind of responds to these 5 girls who ultimately commit suicide, and what that how it affects everybody. And so like, again, another book that in theory was very cool. We see a little bit of like religion playing into that. And I think if it had been written, and it was written back in the 90s, I think if it had been written today, we might have seen a bigger story arc with that. And so I was wanting more that I didn't quite get. And also I think suicide might have been a very taboo topic back in the 90s. I'm not sure because I was only born in 94, but I imagine it's still kind of a difficult topic for us to approach. And so I imagine it was back then. And I kind of wish he'd go back and rewrite it now because I think that there's so much more that could be delved into. So 3 stars. And finally, we have my biggest disappointment of the month with 4 stars. And you're going to be like, 4 stars and it was a disappointment. We have When the World Tips Over by Jandy Nelson. If you know me, which you don't yet, but you will because you're going to like and subscribe and watch all of my videos. I love Jandy Nelson. If Jandy Nelson has no readers, I'm dead, okay? I love Jandy Nelson. I feel like she could poop on a book and I would love it. This book is following 3 siblings and their journey to reconnection. It's about chosen family, love, diversity. There's magical realism, there's LGBTQ, it's got a lot going on, it's really beautiful, but I just felt like all the things that should have been rounded up nicely and into a bow weren't, and all the things that didn't need it were, if that makes sense. A review I saw said that if you have to explain why something is not incestual, then maybe it's a little incestual, and I do completely agree with that. But the reason I gave it 4 stars is because, again, as you can tell, if the concept of a book is really good, it almost always falls in that 3-star area for me, as long as it was something I still semi-enjoyed reading. The thing that pushed it over the top for me is that while I didn't fully love the book and I did love the concept, the last few chapters in true Jandy form really took me out. I was crying, weeping, hyperventilating. She's got amazing, beautiful one-liners that just kind of rip your heart out. I'm so sorry. I don't even know if Jandy is a woman and I could be misusing their pronouns. But either way, rip my heart out. I absolutely love the end of it. I do wish, however, that it was more like I'll Give You the Sun. But I also wonder if I'll Give You the Sun would stand the test of time if I reread it today. So maybe that's a topic for another video. But overall, that is my September wrap up. I don't see myself doing any October TBRs only because I'm not the kind of person who really makes a monthly or even yearly TBR. I kind of let the universe tell me what I have to read, and whether that's through arcs I've received or books that have been recommended to me, however long something takes to come in on the Libby app. You know how Libby can be. Sometimes you want to read a book tomorrow and it's not going to come in until 6 months from now. Sometimes you think it's not going to come in until 6 months from now and you got to skip the line read today. So yeah, no October TBR, but I do see myself doing an October wrap up at the end of the month, and I promise that will be done in a much more timely fashion. Otherwise, if you like this video, you like listening to me yap, you like talking about all things bookish, please let me know. If you've read any of these books, leave your thoughts, comments down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.